right. Well, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to Peter White Public Library. My name's Marty Acketts, and I'm the Adult Programming Coordinator. And I'm looking out there, and I think I see a lot of familiar faces, so you probably all know who I am. I'm so happy that you're all here tonight. I was like, when I heard there was rain in the forecast, I was like, yes, that's going to bring people in. So, if you've been to one of these Northwords and Music shows before, you'll know that it's a variety of things. It's storytelling, it's music, it's poetry, and sometimes it's a lot. There are mistakes made. I mean, our rehearsal was sort of a hot mess, but that's always good. Because when you have a hot mess rehearsal, that means you're going to have a great show. So let me remind you, I'm going to do this, and I'm asking everybody to do this too, to silence your phones. Performers, if you haven't silenced yours, make sure you do, all right? And I'm going to turn it over to BG, who is our host for tonight. And welcome to Peter White Public Library.
Well, it's time again for Northwords and Music, featuring two-time UP Poet Laureate Marty Acketts, singer-songwriter Steve Hooper, a.k.a. Under This Cold Sky, who just happens to be home tonight with two sick kids, our favorite actress, Jackie Love, our tribute to maple sap gatherers everywhere, some tales from the Sugar Shack, with our guest stars tonight, singer-songwriter Carrie Yost, and 2023 UP Poet Laureate Beverly Mathern. And me, the old storyteller, B.G. Bradley. This edition of Northwords and Music is brought to you by La Dolce Video, full-service advertising agency located in Marquette, Michigan, providing professional graphic design, website design, video production, and marketing solutions. Stop in today and see how we can help grow your business, ladolce.pro. Benegama Press, that's Benegamah, one-stop book shopping and free entertainment courtesy of yours truly and his beneficent overlord and silent partner, bgbbooksup.com. Check out the books, audio poems, podcasts, and a brand new electronic version of our Northwords and Music show, Taking Stock, at bgbbooksup.com. Benegama Press, that's Benegamah. Under This Cold Sky, handcrafted folk and rock from Michigan's Upper Peninsula. Bigfoot and much more, a fully owned subsidiary of the Acketts Corporation. The Our Favorite Actress Jackie Love Appreciation Foundation, Ben and Jen O'Brien, founders and combatants. Brainworm, a nearly instant solution for hyperanalysis and pretension. And Tone, it's not what you say or write, it's how you say or write it. And by the Carol Paul Memorial Trust and Friends of Peter White Public Library. And stop in and see us at the end of the show and pick up one of our books or CDs and support your local arts community. Now we're going to start you off tonight with a poem that Marty and I wrote together for just this occasion.
Conundrum.
Sometimes I think I've written enough for any spring day.
Words sprouting their dandelion heads everywhere I look.
Metaphors drifting blithely over the silver blue waters of the lake at dawn.
And loons chortling for all the green abundance.
Even one word more may be too much, never near enough.
Like the dew-wops of first and last peepers, blushes of first and last lilacs.
I am delightfully lost, devoid and engulfed in silence and warming wind.
I am delightfully found in the thick, starry mud of the heavens. All right. Well, it is my pleasure to introduce our guest musician tonight, Carrie Yost. Carrie's a local singer-songwriter, and she writes about the UP, and she's done lots of concerts here. And she's just a pleasure to work with. I've known Carrie for many years. And my son loves her, although my son was really mad because he played a game of war with her once with cards, and she beat him. Not a good thing. But anyway, and she never lets him forget that. So, so anyway, please give a warm Peter White Public Library welcome to Carrie Yost.
Thank you. I don't know that I'm going to need this too much in this space, but I'll try to at least honor the fact that there's a microphone here. I'm going to play a couple songs for you that I wrote, and then I'm going to pass it back over to our poets for the day. Molten magma on your tongue. Your words are all burned up. And there's a rift and you erupt. All you can stand to do is spit and cuss. You'll find shelter for what it's worth. In your cocoon await your second birth. Here at the warmest center of the earth, you'll find shelter for what it's worth. And isn't it fine when this world feels so unkind? You've got your sweet divine waiting on that line. Taste of nature on your tongue. Your mind has come undone, and there the bright and shining sun is telling tales of what is yet to come. But you'll find shelter for what it's worth. In your cocoon await your second birth. Here at the warmest center of the earth, you'll find your shelter for what it's worth. And isn't it fine in the ceaseless flow of endless time? You've got your sweet divine waiting on that line. Your love is not yet done. You are not yet done. There's a shift It's a gift and you give it up. Isn't it fine in this sweet old by and by, waiting on that line? Is your sweet divine? Is your sweet divine? Is your sweet? Thank you. So right before I got here, my tuner died. So I'm hopeful that it's not too horrible out there. Oh. Alex brought me a battery, which might mean something about how bad it sounds out there. He's like, don't worry, I got you covered. You might want to use this. So the next song that I'm going to play for you is a song that I wrote that's about how, it's kind of about how we're not as monstrous as we all think that we are sometimes. I think that, you know, the phrase "we're our own worst critic" definitely rings true, and for any and all of you who are artists, even more so maybe. I think that we just have more opportunities to criticize ourselves, perhaps, if you're a writer or a painter or an actor, or if you're just trying to open up like the world's most impossible little plastic. Like, how child-proof is this? I am 36 years old. Like, come on. I give up. I am done. I'm going to go sit down now. The show's over. I'm going to go back to trying to use my ears, and it's probably just going to make it worse. But anyway, so this song is perfect timing for such a thing. Good enough. Sometimes as an artist, you just resolve that that's good enough and I'm done now. Otherwise, you'll just be rewriting and editing for the rest of your life, which some of us do also. Anyhow, this tune is called Silver Moon. Shepherd sitting silent on the hill, the silver moon is hanging still, finding solace when you're all alone. You are always home. You're a sheep in wolf skin. There's no beast to find within, standing here in front of me. I'm not scared of what I see, looking on with steely eyes. You set your gaze upon the prize. You're living centuries of pain. Your ancestors have staked their claim. Shepherds sitting silent on the hill, the silver moon is hanging still, finding solace when you're all alone. You are always home. looking out for sunny skies, hanging yourself out to dry. It's too dark to go inside. It's too dark to go inside. You're a sheep in wolf skin. There's no beast to find within, standing here in front of me. I'm not scared of what I see. Shepherds sitting silent on the hill. The silver moon is hanging still, finding solace when you're all alone. You are always home. Shepherds sitting silent on the hill. The silver moon is hanging still, finding solace when you're all alone. You are always home. You are always home. You are always home. Thank you very much. Thank you so much. So this last tune that I'm going to play is where I really probably, I'm going to wish that I had wrestled that battery out of the packaging. But sometimes the process of tuning can be kind of beautiful, so I'll just invite you to enjoy the sound of a guitar being tuned. Kind of amazing what a brick of wood and metal strings can do. Even with an adversary like me at the helm. Okay, this one goes out to all of you. Take good care of yourselves and each other. Turn the guitar back up. When was the last time you walked alone, stepping softly? Did you feel at home? Or did you feel afraid? Did you look all around you? And did you see the way that fear can break you down? That fear can break you down. When was the last time you remembered your dreams? Sleeping softly, did they make you feel free? And did they show the way, or did they all surround you? And when the eagles came, did you take flight or drown? Did you take flight or drown? softly into the depths of your mind. Oh, can you see the way the light is all around you? And can you see the face of love itself shine down? Cause I can see the way the light is all around you. In you I see the face of love itself shine down. Thank you very much.
Give it up for Carrie Yo, Songbird of the Northwoods. Well, I think it's time for a word from one of our sponsors. So, hi, I'm Marty Achatz. When you walk in the woods, are you ever shadowed by an 8-foot proto-human with enormous feet and yellow fangs? Well, not to worry, I know all about Bigfoot, and I'm here to tell you he means you no harm. But just to be safe, next time you feel a looming shadow in the woods, read him some of my Bigfoot poems, like Lady Bigfoot kept him in her cave. Bigfoot has late finds at the Peter White Public Library. Bigfoot goes trick-or-treating, and the holiday classic, Bigfoot Noel. Get your Bigfoot CDs today, Slow Dancing with Bigfoot and Christmas with Bigfoot on Amazon.com, streakingintongues.bandcamp.com, or at my blog, St. Marty, stmarty-marty.blogspot.com. Please welcome back B.G. Bradley.
Conversation.
These countertops are baffling me.
Jack Lemmon was born in an elevator.
See this pattern? And this, I'm not sure they're the same. They might be.
There's an off-Broadway musical based on the original Star Trek. The premise is that it was written by Data. That ought to be funny.
The price is $1,000 different. That's a no-brainer.
A prose poem isn't really either. Maybe they should have another category.
My hair just wants to stay dark. So dark. Does it make me look old?
Have you seen this commercial for Sports Illustrated? The actress is so funny. She comes in all distracted, and he shoots off this cannon full of rose petals, and it goes off right in her face, and she looks up and screams, "What the f-" So funny.
We should just take a trip over to see the boys. Or you could just go alone, bring them some supplies.
I think the pitch clock is going to make things really move in baseball.
The insurance is going to change when you're 65, and we'll have to pay the difference.
Write me a letter about the moon. Hey, that's a good line.
Once we get this kitchen done, you and the dogs are going to have to come through a different entrance.
I really love Billy Wilder movies. They have some darkness, but there's always hope at the end, and light comedy drawn from life, real characters. And he doesn't leave out the zany. I mean, come on, some like it hot.
I'm going to have to spend a little to get this kitchen to be what I really want.
Save the Tiger wasn't that great a movie, but Jack Lemmon was great in it. How does that work?
Just sweep the snow away from the steps. It just takes a second, and then the snow doesn't get tracked into the kitchen.
Have you ever noticed how easily Robert Conrad and William Shatner could have played each other's roles?
What do you think of a trip south? We could just go. Get away.
The dogs were sensing something when we were down in the cutover. Something moving through the brush, I guess.
Here comes the choo-choo.
Spencer Tracy said that the best advice about acting was never to let anybody catch you at it. Hard to teach your young actors that. They want people to see them acting so badly. They just want people to see them. Natural, I guess.
Did you check the mail?
When I think about my teaching days, like that, when I think about my teaching days, it seems like I'm remembering someone else's life. And then when I think about being a reporter, that seems like something else too. Then when I think about being in high school, that's somebody else. Being in Catholic school, somebody else. Maybe we really aren't the same person all the time. Maybe identity is fluid.
I swear to God, we've had so many problems with water. Maybe I'm a water goddess. Maybe I bring all the water problems in this house on and I'm not aware of it.
You're a goddess, all right. Love you, hon.
Love you.
What did I tell you? A hot mess. So I'm going to read you a few poems that are in keeping with, I think, the time of year. And the first one I'm going to read you was a poem that I wrote. I think it was the Memorial Day after the pandemic hit. And it was the first Memorial Day where everybody was sort of allowed to gather again. And I was really moved by this moment where we sort of gathered in a cemetery to celebrate Memorial Day as we do every year. So this one is called The Memorial Day After. We gather this Memorial Day after a long season of wintering out, happy to see faces, brindled hope wagging its tail as we again summon soldiers limping home after bull runs, Omaha beaches, too tired to even think about cool hands on shell-shocked temples, wanting only to find a place in sun to stretch out limbs, press faces into bowls of blue sky, close eyes that have seen too much that begs to be forgotten. Find a Flanders field to rest. Peace that can't be broken by cries of bullets or rockets ever again. That will last until tribulation's trumpet blasts open the veil of grave and we all climb, stunned and new, from the final battle of dirt and sod and rock, final Memorial Day, where we'll stand shoulder to shoulder with those who, as old men in old uniforms remind us today, paid the Christ price. Brave, wounded souls who will nod at us, smile with the knowledge of having been through this before, heard their last breaths rattle a blood-soaked morn, given up their ghosts so that we could walk in a world not haunted by sacrifice. They stand with us now on this Memorial Day after, as they will stand with us on that last Memorial Day, when we will all understand what it means to lay down our lives like place settings on a dinner table, tuck napkins under our chins, wait for grace to be said, a thankfulness for all gifts we have received, will receive, and we will part our lips at the end, let an amen rattle the universe's windows the way they rattled when we took those first stumbling steps out of the gates of Eden and God's heart split open like a mother's sending her only child off to war. Thank you. So I am known for writing Bigfoot poems. You're not getting any Bigfoot poems tonight. I'm sorry. But talk to me. There's books back there and CDs. You can get Bigfoot poems if you want. Anyway, the next poem I'm going to read to you is in celebration of the next holiday that we're going to be celebrating next week, Independence Day. So this poem is called Waiting for Independence Day Fireworks 2013. On this July 4th, a girl with pink hair wrestles a pit bull in the grass as Black Pearl plays Stand By Me on the bandstand. The sky touches the ground with a wide thumb of sun, day clinging to these last suckling moments, nursing dusk's green milk. So much skin and tattoo around, flesh against flesh. I smell coconut from a flock of teenage girls who whisper and giggle by, Budweiser and Marlboros from the boys close behind them. An old man and woman sit in lawn chairs to my left, eat bratwurst, watch kids loft frisbees into the darkening air. When she's down to her last bite, the old woman reaches over, feeds it to the old man, who accepts it, kisses her fingers, his lips smeared with mustard. Two men appear. One carries a blanket. Their hands almost touch as they walk together. They spread their blanket on the ground, the way my mom and dad used to spread towels on the beach in August, without need for word or direction. An easy ballet of arm and hand, crouch, kneel, an act they'd repeated so many times it gleamed like a rock in lake shallows, polished for years by tides, waves. Everyone pauses as the men sit close to each other, gray heads like twin dandelions sprouting from a single weed. They talk, laugh, drink beer from brown, long-necked bottles. Soon, we all forget to be shocked as night overtakes us, makes us all the same, one crowd, indivisible, under stars and moon, our bodies primed for the freedom to love the sky any way we want. Thank you. So, as often happens when you put together a show and are throwing skits and monologues and stories together, a theme sort of emerges somehow. And that theme that sort of emerged for this show was home. So the last poem I'm going to read to you tonight is titled, "Home is Where the Heart Is." It's an old saying. I don't know where it came from, but I imagine some 18-year-old sailor on a battleship in the Pacific during World War II, reading, rereading, and rereading a letter from his sweetheart. She tells him how she sleeps with his shirt every night, that she can still smell his aftershave and sweat on its collar. And she tells him of the home they will share when he returns, how she will make him pork chops at night, grind coffee beans every morning, what she will grow in her garden in the backyard, peas, carrots, pumpkins. She tells him all these things because she wants him to know she's keeping the home fires burning. Another old saying. Every word she's written on those pages, pieces of kindling stoked in the furnace of her bosom. And her sailor boy lies in his bunk in the belly of that boat, letting the sea rock him, rock him, rock him all the way home. Thank you. And now it's time for another word from a sponsor. Tone.
Tone is the author's attitude towards his poem or story.
No, you're wrong. Tone is the sound of something you say.
Attitude.
Sound.
Attitude.
Sound.
Easy, folks. Tone is both an attitude and a sound. Let me demonstrate. Want to convey a sense of meaningless or ennui in a Dr. Seuss book? Use tone. The sun did not shine. It was too hot to play. So we sat in the house all that cold, wet day. And all we could do was to sit. And we did not like it, not one little bit. It's just that simple. Want to inject some Descartesian existential ambiance into a nonsense poem by Gillette Burgess? Use tone. I never saw a purple cow. I never hope to see one. But I can tell you anyhow, I'd rather see one than be one. See how easy?
Gosh, thanks, announcer. That answers both of our questions.
Tone is recommended by teachers of language and music worldwide. Some side effects include spontaneous ability to make any sentence or musical phrase mean anything may occur. Tone. And now it's time to bring up the real poet on the stage. It's my pleasure to introduce my great friend. We've known each other, I won't say how long, but it's been a long time. And the reason that I'm a poet is because of this person. Beverly Mathern, who is the 2023-2024 UP Poet Laureate. And she has read across the country, across the world. If I went through everything that Beverly has done, it would take the rest of the time that we have. But she has read in places like the United Nations. So it's just such a pleasure and an honor to have Beverly Mathern here to share her work. Please give a round of applause to Beverly Mathern, UP Poet Laureate.
I'm reading from my new book, by the way. It's on the table. So I'm going to start with a dramatic monologue. Oh, thank you so much. It takes place, is this okay? It takes place in a swamp, a polluted swamp in Louisiana, and it's called Dauphin, after the painting Dauphin by Joseph B. Darensbourg. It's no fun being a freak, part mottled-nosed dolphin and part alligator snapping turtle. To make matters worse, scientists have given me a new name, Dauphin boudroki, Dauphin for short, derivative of the French dauphin, apt, I suppose, when you consider my origin in Cajun country. My dolphin brain is of considerable size, as you know. It tells me I'm sociable, agile, intelligent. But here I am, solo in a swamp, lugging this triple-ridged, barnacle-spiked carapace, this military accoutrement fit for a brute campaign in a brute time, like that of Attila the Hun, say, or Ivan the Terrible. Note my colors, gray, brown, olive green, and the abundant algae on my shield, for martial camouflage, of course. Sometimes I feel like a 36-ton panzer, sometimes more prehistoric, a combination Stegosaurus, Scolosaurus, Gorgoiliosaurus. God, I'm ugly. My most embarrassing thing is this. Despite my smart brain, I keep burying myself in mud, only eyes and snout visible to ambush a frog or fish for dinner, maybe a snake. The prey minuscule, the coup never satisfies. My dolphin brain tells me I should have instead a sea lion or a fillet of whale, neither available in these degenerate waters. The discrepancy between what I am and what I should be is a catch-22. My turtle grandfather lived to age 70. I'm just 15 and don't stand a fighting chance for such longevity. Sometimes I wish I had grandfather's powerful jaw. I'd hack to pieces the humans who polluted the earth and its waters, drag them down into the slime, and let my deviant self feast upon them. Oh, to bow ride a boat slicing the Pacific, to be the sleek aerodynamic bullet that was my father, to spy hop into cerulean sky, Apollonian sun, with force greater than gravity. Now I'm going to do an urban legend that takes place in New Orleans. And it's a very popular legend, and lots of writers have written their own particular take. Andre Dubus has a story based on this legend. I have not read it because I didn't want to be influenced by it. But anyway, here's my take. It's after the painting Swamp Witch by Francis X. Pobby. Innocent lass from New Orleans, you fall in love with a married man. His wife lives far away, somewhere in the deep South. The man steals your trust, your body, compliant and hungry, then leaves for a diamond mine in Australia. You, destitute, your chest split open and bleeding. You think his departure is God's punishment, for you too are culpable in this sordid alliance. You resign yourself to suffering to pay for your crime. Struggling daily for meager sustenance, you peddle delicate christening gowns and intricate lace the nuns in a convent in Dublin taught you to make when you were a child. One winter, you almost die of smallpox. This, too, God's wrath, you surmise. Your perfect face, now riddled with scars, you don a thick black veil, set yourself apart, more loathsome than ever. Folks in the French Quarter turn away, call you witch when you attempt to sell your wares. One day, a voodoo priestess gifts you with a parchment of ancient recipes, love potions, teas, incantations, sends you to the mulatto woman in the swamp who shows you how to find, to name, to use for best effect what thrives there. Elderberry flowers to lure fever, root of lizard's tail to heal wounds, sassafras leaves to draw poison from snake bites. Once in the swamp, you remove your veil. Swamp dweller yourself, no longer despised, you are at peace for the first time since your abandonment, and your chest wound heals. You sing praise, give thanks to all that lives in the swamp, all interconnected, you in your right place. In spring, you sing praise to you, great egret on angel's wings, and you, barred owl and owlets, and you, roseate spoonbills. Praise to you, white water lilies, your deep yellow hearts, and you, blue irises. Praise to you, red-orange butterfly, nectar of swamp rose, your manna. Praise to you, mulberry, chestnut, mimosa, and you, alligator, your armored body, your sharp-toothed maw, and your growl that shakes the shore. You sing in summer, praise to you, mosquito hawk and morning glory, and you, creeper and cypress vine, and you, stilt, fishing in shallows. Praise to you, rat snake, sunning on oak stump, and all of you, raccoon, toad, bullfrog, and little brown skink. Praise to you, marsh hen, lily pads your highway on water, and you, white-tailed fawn, you, dappled thing. Praise to you, cypress foliage, blinding orange in fall sunset, and you, cardinal flowers, in morning dew. And you, field of marigold in mist. Praise to you, snake-necked anhinga, copperhead and coot. And you, wild boar and black bear. Praise to you, tree swallows in thousands, your tornado landing at dusk, your blazing blue fading in the night. You sing in winter, praise to you, cypress stump, your icicles spewing water, and you, oyster mushroom, you, ruffled petticoat. Praise to you, wood duck, your green crown and brown breast, and you, gray fox, guarding your den. Praise to you, 6-point buck, frolicking in high water, and you, bittern, yellow eyes among cattails. Praise to you, long-billed ibis, bright white against green palmetto, and you, cat mewing nutria, and you, chorus frog, your mating call. Praise to you, ruby-throated hummingbirds stopping to feed on your long flight. All year long, you sing praise. Thank God. You want to live forever. One day, you encounter an albino fawn, feeble beside his dead mother. Praise to you, little white wonder, you sing as you lift him into your arms. You suckle him with warm milk, put him to sleep, swaddled in silk, noting 6 buttons on his head, little wing buds. You name him White Wings. All is well with White Wings and you, the little one, loyal as a puppy at your heels. But White Wings starts to grow up. Nights he wanders into the swamp alone. Especially dangerous, you think, when the moon is mere slipper, not bright enough to make him easy to find. One night, White Wings does not return for hours. Sobbing, you search and search for him. Suddenly, a hunter's shot rings out. As the bullet enters White Wings' chest, pain fills your own. You swoon, your grief too great to bear. When you open your eyes, the warm breath of White Wings, now resurrected, warms your cheek. Blood bubbles from his torn chest. Suddenly, White Wings' little wing buds burst open. Fully mature, he is seraphim, you knowing full well the meaning of that word. 6-winged angel, the nuns having told you stories about them at the convent. You mount his back, embrace his neck. White Wings and you rise up and up, through mist, through blue skies, through blinding light, to gilded path of heaven. Sometimes, on moonlit nights, swamp dwellers, traiteurs, witches, or hunters encounter swamp witch, White Wings at her side. They say rays of light shoot from their bodies like those from the heart of Christ on holy cards. Sometime you may go there too, into the swamp. When you approach them, White Wings and swamp witch, and prove you are gentle, White Wings may nuzzle your cheek with his pink snout, and with his tender light heal your own wounded chest.
And, Marty and I represent just 2 of the people that Beverly influenced so heavily during her teaching career. I was a retread and came back to Northern and did my master's with a poetry collection about life in the UP on the lake where I grew up. And Carrie said something that really reverberated with me earlier about artists being very, very insecure, and I didn't certainly even think of myself as an artist at that point, and I was very insecure, and it was Beverly that held my hand and got me through that, and all she got as a reward was a thank you note from me written on a piece of birch bark, which I thought was creative, but
It was. The only one I've ever gotten.
but anyway, Beverly, thank you so much for everything. Okay, Jackie, who I failed to introduce earlier, my favorite actress, Jackie Love, and I are going to do our little tribute to sugar gatherers at the sugar shacks everywhere across the UP, and this is from my book, Tales from the Sugar Shack, which, believe it or not, is based on the Canterbury Tales and set in the Upper Peninsula at a sugar shack. And it includes both poetry and prose, and I'm going to get you started on that right now, and then Jackie's going to tell you one of the tales of the many people that come to the sugar shack. The April Fool's Day Storm. The spring gave birth to April snow and drifts. Inside around the fire they spoke in shifts. A rattled crew of foolish travelers spoke of life among the pines and woodland folk. The tales they told were funny, even sad, of mostly true adventures they'd all had. All our lives are made of what they said. We live the stories that you'll soon have read. The wood smoke stung all eyes among these friends when swirling winds outside shifted north again. An always scent of maple sap arose from off the roiling boil upon the stove. It flavored all the tales with this year's taste. The host, a teacher, set the evening's pace. Let's tell some stories while we wait the storm. I know we all know some, they'll keep us warm. And when the wind dies down and new snow stops, we'll toast the finest tale with finest hops. All there agreed and combed their hearts to find the greatest tale they knew to share in kind. And laughs ensued, and tears a time or two, and in these pages I'll share them all with you. And here's the first tale, Camp Grosse. The river was known locally as the Gross Roach, or the Grosse. Ben O'Brien, a retired local English professor and semi-famous poet, had always thought it would be easier just to call the water the Big Rock or the Rock, since the voyageur who had named it La Grosse Roche was no doubt referring to the enormous glacial boulder along a bend a mile north of the Ray Antelas camp. But as Ben well knew, fighting local custom, especially when it came to language in the UP, was a losing battle. Ray Antela was a math professor at Hunter Woods College. His sugar shack was a fixture by the time of the Great Spring Storm and a hangout for professors, high school teachers, a couple of local businessmen and women, some folks from the village and county crews, and nearly anybody else who showed up at the door. And that was an odd mix on the night of the storm. The place was a monstrosity. Ray, who had a sense of humor not unlike his friend Ben, liked it that way. It had started as just a sugar shack in the Antela family's maple stand above the Grosse. Ray liked the idea of building the shack on those fine 40 acres and loved the idea of making the syrup, having no idea at all of how to go about doing either. He'd slugged ahead anyway with a local handyman, Dale Sylvanus, and the pups, Dale's little tribe, helping him out, and Ben lending a hand along with Ben's brother-in-law, Mark Hicks. Mark was useful that way. He actually knew what he was doing with saws and hammers. He even used power tools. Ben, frankly, knew even less than Ray about building and way less about syrup making. The shack had started as just one room for the stove under a little peaked roof with a couple cast-off chairs and a ratty old couch inside. There was a lean-to at first on the uphill side and a door, which is a cast-off from the local high school where Ben had been teaching at the time, bolted into an uninsulated wood frame structure. The first addition after that were the bunk beds built by Mark on the wall furthest from the stove, a measure taken to avoid the steam rising from the sap. Dale had rigged up an ingenious spring-loaded trap door on the roof to allow the sweet steam to escape. Cute little structure to start. Then Ray got an idea. Then Ray got an idea. It would be a great place to deer hunt, too, and the Grossi was terrific duck hunting this close to Lake Superior, especially on rough days on the big lake. Why not build on another room? So they did. A full-on bunkhouse on the uphill side, complete with peekaboo pictures, which slid aside so the guys could shoot at passing deer from their beds, and a duck blind, which, though not connected, was built just 40 steps downhill. What, though, was a hunting camp without a dining room? So that addition was made too. Soon, Camp Grossi was loaded down with eager sappers and pseudo-sappers, hunters and pseudo-hunters, and more room was needed. Rooms kept appearing, some with windows and walls facing into interior rooms, multiple doors leading into ridiculous destinations, ladders, lofts, porches, and verandas. By the time of the great spring storm at Camp Grossi, the place had 3 floors, multiple wings, and a platform high up among the maple branches with no safety railings of any kind, known as Fear and Trembling Post. The deal was all newcomers had to go up and stand there on the narrow platform high in the treetops in the sometimes brisk wind coming off the Grossi and chug a beer. If they did so, they got to write their names and a message on the underside of the platform while standing on the not-so-secure ladder beneath it. More than one Camp Grossi initiate had awakened the morning after his initiation, clinging to his bunk in a nightmare of cold sweat at the memory of the ceremony of the night before. Ray, who was a quiet, gentle sort with a dry sense of humor and penchant for speaking only to deliver a one-liner at exactly the right moment, had a way of tipping his head back, taking a little gasp of air, then letting out a chuckle of pure enjoyment, which was most people's favorite thing about him. On one April Fool's night at Camp Grossi, all along Le Gros Rocher and as far as Hunter Lake and environs, both east and west, the snow came heavy and wet. Ray had a good boil going, and together with his sister Bev, Ben O'Brien, Mark Hicks, and local veterinarian Jeff Jessen, they had been tending the boil for 2 days in shifts. When the snow started to come, they shuttered down Camp Grossi to the best degree possible. But snow kept coming in through the cracks. And at the door, suddenly there were travelers, both lost and wandering, who for some reason found their way to this Rube Goldberg sugar shack on this of all nights. Some were in fact lost, but others just thought there would be no better place to be on an April Fool's night when the powers that be were having a little fun with the local inhabitants in the form of this storm well after the first day of what laughingly passes for spring in the UP. The prologue. Part 23. This is just one of the stories of the people who come in. To say that Jen does gossip is not unfair. To say she is a gossip to all those there would be unkind, untrue, and quite unsafe. She has a way of making folks behave as though she were the dearest soul alive. Perhaps it is the kindness in her eyes. At any rate, all at the sugar shack that night would stand up for her honor in a fight. She'd worked her way through all the lives in town as a reporter, friend. She'd covered ground, and though her wacky ways can make us laugh, to underestimate her sparked her wrath. A clever, keen mind lives inside that head. She listens well, her senses all stay fed. And when she stood to give her little talk, she gestured wide and walked her trademark walk.
Well, if I wrote down all the stories I've heard tonight, I'd have enough for a year's worth of my old column if I still worked at the Hunter's Tales. But now that I'm a book author, maybe, with your permission, I've got some fodder for a few books. Anyway, I can't tell stories about any of you. You already told them about yourselves. So I guess that leaves me with some family stories. Oh, quit groaning, you guys. You know you love to hear about yourselves. Shut up, Mark. These stories are not fiction. And you boys quit rolling your eyes. Let your mother talk. Let's start with Jake. I'm not going to pick on Ben tonight because everybody knows the Big Doofus' stories already, and he never stops telling them. Besides, he helped me with my last book, so he gets a few months out of my firing line. So Jake, now before I get started, just rest assured, I'm not going to go into his love life. Nope, not going to do it. It's like shooting fish in a barrel, however much you might want to hear all of those stories about exotic foreign beauties and supermodels. No, but this story starts when Jake and I were just little. Old man Chesterfield, out on the lake, I had this thing that he did with chipmunks. All the kids on the lake would go over to the bay to see it. He put a string through several peanuts in the shells and suspended them between two trees. Then the chipmunks would climb up the trees and work their ways out onto the string until they got a hold of a peanut. And then they'd hang there trying to get the peanut down. It was a regular high wire act. We would watch it all day long. Well, one morning, Jake and I went over to see the chipmunk circus. I don't know where Ben was, maybe off fishing with Dad or on one of his famous hikes. Anyway, just as we turned our backs on our morning's entertainment and coming up on lunchtime, at the O'Brien camp, you didn't want to be late for meals, because if you were, Bigley would make sure that there wasn't any food until supper. Anyway, one of the chipmunks suddenly ran up to us. Now, we were both barefoot, as always in summer. Shoes were for crybabies. And this crazy chipmunk suddenly lunged out at Jake and bit a good chunk of his toenail off, and then ran away with it. Hand to God. Jake, is that the way that it happened? See? Shut up, doofus. Anyway, when we got back, nobody would believe us. Dad teased us for years about marauding chipmunks. Ben, as you can see, will never let it go. And Mom just put food on the table and said, "That's interesting." Which was code for, "What a load of crap." I swear to you, though, that story is true. I'm going to go a little darker now, because as I was telling that story, I was thinking about the trail Jake and I ran to tell everybody about the chipmunk. The very last thing you pass when you're coming from the, Ben, west? Yeah. Towards the camp is the bell. Now, the bell sits up on a hill just west of camp. And when we were little, long before cell phones, which Dad, I swear sometimes he'd go in on an emergency in the middle of the night, and folks who had heard Doc was coming over to his office would show up with their own complaints. Happened more than once. Anyway, the bell. Mom would ring it when Dad was out on fishing on the other end of the lake to call him home. It was a wonderful thing, really. Sweet. So right after Dad died, about a week later, we were out at camp, and I was pretty sad. I missed him so much, and I was just little. So I was sitting on the porch, and I looked over at the bell. I knew enough about the world to know that what I had in mind wasn't going to work. But I went out there anyway, half believing it might. I rang the bell over and over, and finally Mom came out, put her arms around me and said, "Jenny, he's not coming back. But I bet he hears you, and he loves that you're calling him. Just hold him in your heart, sweetie. In your heart." I have never cried so hard in my life before or since, but it was good crying. Well, that's dark enough. Now let's talk about Sean and Colin. Oh, you boys didn't think that you were going to get out of it, did you? So I was raised with boys, so none of this really shocked me all that much. Not even the time that I sent them upstairs to clean up when they came home from elementary school, and after hearing yells from the upstairs bathroom, went up there to find both of them with their pants around their ankles, slugging it out because one of them had peed on the other one. My goodness. Did those boys ever battle and tease and just keep marking me busy when they were little? We used to have a couch at each end of the living room, and many nights while we were sitting there watching TV, reading, listening to music, the boys would just run back and forth across the living room, crashing into the couches, laughing the whole time and yelling out bizarre things in their own wild little language. Frankly, we were so tired by that time of the day, we just let them go. One night like that, about at 8 o'clock, after we'd put them both to bed, Colin, who, though he is younger, was always bigger and hungrier, came downstairs and asked for a banana. Well, Colin had finished off all the bananas we had in the house, and most of the rest of the food, hours before that. He was out of luck. I told him so. He ran upstairs crying. Now, this was the day when those child monitors, walkie-talkies is what they were a big deal. So we had one in their room and one in the living room. Colin goes back up the stairs crying, and we can hear him clear as day in the living room. I can't have a banana. I can't have a banana. I can't have a banana. I swear to you, this goes on for a half hour, and finally it becomes just Colin saying gibberish through the tears, and finally starting to fall asleep. Well, no sooner did Colin finally settle down than we heard a different voice on that child monitor. Sean's. Hey, Carl, he said, with the mischief just alive in that voice. Huh? Colin said, half asleep. You can't have that banana. And so it began, all over again.
Wow. I am so privileged to have that great an actress reading my words. Thank you so much. Okay, I'm going to read a poem that really is dedicated to my friend Marty, who's at the keyboard right now, because a couple of months back, Marty was having a pretty bad time about some lost keys. And he said to me, now don't tease me about this. And I said, okay, I won't. I'll just write a poem about it and read it later. So it's called My Lost Keys. My keys are in the mouth of some fish out in the bay. Some old broken fisherman will find them someday and say, hey, look at this. Now if I only had a car. They are in some drawer upstairs in my old house. They're wedged in the back, invisible if you don't look close. We'll sell that old chested drawer soon, and the keys will be inherited by some loony little kid with eyes like sparks in a beach fire. Oh, what live wires will jingle them then. They are in someone else's odds and ends drawers. No one ever wonders about them. They have no use, but they are happy among friends. They are in my wife's purse. She put them there, alone, in a special compartment for safekeeping. They are safe and lonely. They are floating in the sky, having been lost so long they have all but ceased to exist, unimagined and formless. They are giggling but invisible, still keeping their jingle among the clouds. They are underneath the floor mat in my neighbor's car, getting dirtier every day, wondering where I am, wondering why my truck has abandoned them. They are in the showcase in the Lost Keys Museum. Kids point to them every day as though they were a brick of chocolate. They are wanted, sought after, but protected. They grow lazy. They are giving a speech tomorrow in Lost Keys Congress concerning the nature of perpetual disenfranchisement. Is it freedom? Is it desolation? What's the difference? Where do we go from here? They are broken now at the bottom of a trash compactor pile in the junkyard. They are singing in the attic, calling my name. I drop them looking for some old shoes that I didn't really need. Pity. They have their own show on Netflix. They don't remember me at all. They open doors for millions daily. My loss. They are working their way back to me, moving in and out of pockets and drawers, up off floors, falling from the sky. They know why they got lost and they blame themselves. They won't stop until they find me again, until they find their way back home. Don't worry, they whisper to all those who pass. You should never worry. Keys are never lost. Locks always await. Life is based on this principle. Okay, and now I'm going to call Marty and Jackie back up to the microphone for a second for a little bit of fun that we're calling, because it's Monday, Jazz for Monday. Zoom bop. Are you kidding with this zoom bop?
Zoom bop. I can't get rid of you, can't get rid, you just stay hidden in the zoom bop.
Pretty girl, pretty sweet, soft as shoulders, funny feet, always dancing, romancing along our street, this big zoom bop.
Man and woman, whenever they can, rise up forever and all become fans of the zoom bop. What?
The zoom bop.
I know your heart. I know your mind. I know you like to give in kind. Here's all the art and science and all in rhyme. Best kind of study you'll ever find is the zoom bop.
It never stops, it never rests, never moves at our behest, has all the ideas in a big treasure chest called zoom bop.
Never a flip-flop in this bop zoom. Always some room. Come and dance with that big goon in this zoom bop.
When it stops, oh, never. You park your car wherever in a great big lot called zoom bop.
Opt out, opt in, you are always beginning. You won't see the end of the zoom bop.
Great big forbidden, constantly spreading, never forgetting, takes all kinds of betting. I'm not regretting. Bop, bop, zoom, zoom, bop.
You won't ever stop, though you'll try a lot, hot or cold in between, it gleams and grabs.
Best full life sandwich I ever had, this zoom bop. Hop on into the zoom bop.
And now I'm going to call Beverly, my mentor, Marty's mentor, back up to the stage. Give her a big round of applause.
By the way, I wanted to say there's another star student of mine on this stage. However, I didn't teach her acting, but she was in my playwriting class and dramatic literature classes, and I always had students, do cuttings from the plays, and she was always a star, Jackie. Okay, I'm going to read the poem that was inspired by this painting. I don't know if you can see it or not, but it's by Elise Toups, who was a New Orleans painter, and she is the descendant of Arthur S. Vivien, Arthur S. Vivien, and this poem is taken from a snippet of family story she shared with me. And I thought it'd be fun to do it both, since it's so short, in both English and French. That'd be okay. Just as a reminder that that's something I do too. And there are lots of folks of French origin up here, so it isn't so far-fetched to read anything in French, right? So this is after the painting Arthur and Ernestine, Pentimento on Dauphine. And it turns out that Elise was given this whole packet, a fat packet of cards and letters and other documents going back to this forefather of hers who arrived in New Orleans in 1868. And I think it's just haunting and really wonderful that his genes continue in her and that she is a talented painter too. But among those documents, the thing that really stood out was the love between him and his wife, with whom he had 8 children. Okay. Arthur painted her still beautiful, even at death. Grief-stricken, he painted her again and again on the same canvas, never changing his mind, never changing the composition, wanting her to age with him. I didn't want to miss that, he once said. Each time Arthur painted her, Ernestine shone from the depths, resurrected over and over, forever, Ernestine. Once he completed each portrait, retired for the day, Arthur sipped Ernestine's lips, kissed the fire of her naked breasts. Maintenant, en français, Arthur la peinte toujours belle, même dans la mort. Affligé par le deuil, il la peint encore et toujours sur la même toile, sans jamais se questionner, sans jamais changer de composition, voulant qu'elle vieillisse avec lui. Je ne voulais pas manquer ça, dit-il un jour. Chaque fois qu'Arthur la peignait, Ernestine rayonnait des tréfonds, ressuscitait encore et encore. Ernestine éternelle. Une fois qu'il avait fini un portrait et se retirait pour la journée, Arthur buvait à petites gorgées des lèvres d'Ernestine, embrassait le feu de ses seins nus. Okay. The next I'm going to do is another dramatic monologue. It's called Were-Coon, as in werewolf, except this little were being happens to be a raccoon. So it becomes Were-Coon. And it's after the painting Prenez garde au Chaouis-Garou by Simon Allemand. The name of his painting is Watch Out for the Were-Coon, if we translate that to English. My name is Clovis Coon, but it should be perfect omnivorous eating machine because my greatest obsession is food, 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 all year round, food. Here in the swamp, I get tired of bullfrogs, crawfish, worms. So in early spring, I head to town. There's nothing like roadkill, like lapping the splat of a dead rat or doe. As weather gets warmer and skies bluer, I raid backyard gardens, small fields, before everything gets canned for winter or picked over for the French market in New Orleans. In March, my middle name is Ravenous. I devour all the young asparagus shoots, all the cauliflower I want. By April, I'm foraging beets and cabbage. By May, I'm laying waste eggplants, carrying off cukes. You'll see me plundering the blackberry patch in June, paws and mug stained purple. By August, I'm gathering figs, some sour and rotting. I'm looting grapevines. Give me rancid grapes. Give me overripe watermelon covered with mold. I'm raising the corn patch. Give me kernels, fat and crunchy. In September, October, I'm digging yams, demolishing collard greens. I'm pillaging persimmons in November. In December, clementines. And give me nuts, 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 my favorite. They fatten me best for winter. I get all the acorns I want in the swamp, but here in town, I'm ransacking cupboards and pantries for pecans, for filberts. I'm raiding groves once aphids set in, caterpillars and larvae set in, boring holes in shells. Now, it's February, and my cousin Alphonse Kuhn invites me to a king cake party in New Orleans. Well, I already got a natural mask. Who's going to know whether I'm a raccoon or a petit Frenchman in disguise? I get there, and all along the back wall of the dance hall are king cakes. Don't give me a little bitty piece, I say to myself, and run away with a whole cake. The one containing the baby Jesus, it so happens. It's oodles of frosting, purple, green, and gold, under the full moon, my favorite prowling time. The moon strokes my fur, settles like doubloons in my black eyes. I bury my nose in its beams, gulp them like thick honey until I feel the white breath of Midas on my body. Next thing I know, I'm morphing into something I'm not. I'm growing taller. Something's happening to my ears. They're relocating to the sides of my head like a human's. My teeth are getting bigger and sharper. My nails, normally petite and pointy, are getting longer and more hooked, like Madame Grandoise claws. I see witches flying about, bats darting, wolves howling. I'm chasing Cajun boys and girls, the ones who tell lies, steal toys, stay out too late at night. Then I see the fiddler heading home after the dance. I'm right on his heels, biting his butt. Blood, blood, give me blood. I'm piercing his neck with my big canines, sucking more blood. Suck, suck, all I can get. I let him go, collapse, conk out a bit. When I wake, it's morning, and I'm so tired I can hardly walk home, but I do. I stumble up the road into the swamp, craving moss and sleep. Bullfrogs drill my ears. I sniff muddy air and vaguely remember something about sweet cake, frosting, and a tiny baby, its moon face smiling down on me from the stars.
And now, another word from our sponsor.
Well, one really can't compare David Foster Wallace to Marcel Proust.
Why not? Both have that sense of ennui, that sense of transcendent in the ordinary.
Oh, please. Wallace is just revving everything up to the sky and delighting his own neuroses.
As opposed to Proust.
Oh, come now. Wallace just lacks that je ne sais quoi, lacks that joie de vivre that Proust inhabits.
You think Proust inhabits joie de vivre? I must have missed something.
Yes, you've missed Proust.
Now you're just quoting French to sound sophisticated, taking a position because Wallace is American and you don't want to be seen as...
Have you ever found yourself in this situation? surrounded by pretentious, over-analytical, random French-spouting pseudo-intellectuals trying to impress you, the world at large, and especially each other with their quasi-knowledge, expressing the same tired old opinions, jokes, and pseudo-intellectual anecdotes ad nauseum. Do they make you feel like an intellectual lightweight with their references? Have you had to stand there at dinner parties and faculty meetings feeling like a day-lit lamppost with no light to shine, nothing to say, feeling like you've lost all track of the conversation, wishing you could get these people to go away so that you could talk about last Sunday's football game or the inclement weather? Well, have we got a solution for you. Brainworm. Guaranteed to make those pseudo-intellectuals go away and leave you alone forever. Watch this actual demonstration.
Pedestrian and provincial, and you're afraid Wallace is the brighter of the two and just happened to like bowling as opposed to Proust, whose main pastime appears to have been staring out the window at rain.
Hey, did you know any Emily Dickinson poem can be sung to the Battle Hymn of the Republic? Because I could not stop.
Oh, come now. Proust was intervening on behalf of the intellect, even as he is Swan walking into the park with his beloved, and the boy oh my God, I can't unhear that.
Stop! I'll never be able to hear a Dickinson poem again without that tune.
Or the Yellow Rose of Texas, because I could not stop.
No, please. They go all my lovely pretensions. Oh, what a world! What a world!
Or the Ballad of Gilligan's Island. Because I could not stop poor Death.
Let's get out of here.
Stop for me. Gosh. The carriage held but just ourselves and immortality. Hey, don't you want to hear Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening sung to Hernando's Hideaway?
Oh, no.
These woods, these are, I think I know. His house is in the village, though. He will not see me stopping here to watch his woods fill up with snow. Olay! See, Brainworm bores right in and won't leave them alone. And Brainworm works every time, stopping those over-intellectualizing pests in your life right in their tracks and making them run screaming away, and guaranteed to make them stay away forever or double your money back. Whose woods these are? I think I know. A nearly instant solution for hyperanalysis and pretension. Brainworm, now available for all academic disciplines for just $19.95. Call now. Operators are standing by. 1-80-BRAINWORM. That's 1-80-BRAINWORM. And now I'd like to call Marty back up to the stage.
All right. I'm going to, I was going to share a story with you, but I've decided that I am going to read a Bigfoot poem tonight. Yay! All right. This one is called Bigfoot Valediction. And a valediction is a saying goodbye. And I wrote this for my niece on her high school graduation this past year. So, Bigfoot Valediction for Brianna. He is all goodbye. A dark palm waving from the window of woods on his way to some other place where morels blossom like hairs on his shoulders and porcupines gnaw birch bark to paste. He is the letting go of summer into harvest, harvest into hibernation, the thunder of his snores, splitting cold nights like a sharp tooth on the tongue where the names of dead grandmothers and lost friends sit. He is the fixed foot of the compass, solid as mother or father, and the wandering foot of child, ever circling wider and wider to define its own circumference. As you follow him tonight, sweet girl, into the swamps of frog song and mosquito sting, remember to pause every then and now, pick up a fallen branch, and knock hard on a cypress trunk, to let us know you are all right, to remind yourself of that nest of woolly love you were born to leave. Hey, Beej. I think we need to talk about baseball a little bit. So, go ahead.
Marty, people are still trying to figure out the new pronoun usage rules.
Well, it can be a little confusing, especially for old English majors like ourselves, Beej.
It's kind of hard to teach old dogs new tricks, as the saying goes.
But we all really have to be aware and sensitive about these issues.
Absolutely. Times are changing.
You know, Beej, for the first time in Olympic history, there were openly transgender athletes competing in the last Olympics.
Hopefully that trend continues in all sports. There should be that kind of acceptance in all professional sports, football, baseball, soccer, hockey.
And baseball. Just imagine that, Beej.
All right. Are you the new assistant coach of the team? I said,
That's right. That's right.
Well, welcome to the Tigers. Now, before you head out to practice, I thought I'd go over the team roster with you, get you acquainted with everyone's names.
Well, that sounds like a great idea. You know, some baseball players have funny names.
Funny nicknames.
Yeah, funny nicknames. Yeah, you know, like Three Fingers Brown or Charlie Hustle or the Splendid Splinter.
Oh, you don't have to worry about that.
Really?
No. The names on this team are easy to remember.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, I'm so relieved. I'm not really good with names.
Well, let's start with the basic. He's on first, she's on second, and they's on third.
How's that?
I said he's on first, she's on second, they's on third.
They is? Who are they? I thought you were going to tell me the names.
I am.
So tell me.
I did.
Did what?
Tell you the names.
What names?
The names of the people on the team.
All you did was tell me he's on first, she's on second, and they're on third.
No, they is on third, but you got it exactly.
Exactly what?
The people on the bases.
Who are they?
They is third base.
What?
You said they.
Yes.
They is on third base.
Who?
They.
Who are they?
Third base.
Don't you know the names of the people on your team?
Of course I do. I've been managing the Tigers for 25 years.
Well, you got someone playing first base?
I most certainly do.
What's his name?
He.
Yeah, what's his name?
He.
He's on first base.
Right.
Right what?
You said he's on first base.
Yeah, I did.
That's right.
He's on first.
Yes.
Who's he?
First base.
Who?
He.
Who? He who?
He's on first. Usually, but sometimes they place first too.
They? Who are they?
I told you already.
Told me what?
I told you that they is usually on third, but sometimes they place first too.
They do.
They does, yes.
They plays third and first.
You got it.
I don't got anything. I don't even know what I'm saying.
Calm down, calm down.
How can I stay calm when you won't even tell me the names of the players I'm going to be coaching?
I already did.
You're the team manager.
Yep.
And you don't know the names of the people on your team.
I should hope I do.
Okay, you got someone playing first?
Yes.
What's his name?
He.
The player on first?
He.
He who?
No, just he.
He's on first?
Yes.
Who is he?
The player on first.
He?
He's one of the best.
Best what?
People playing first, along with they sometimes.
Look, you got a person playing first.
I certainly do.
When you pay that person every month, he gets the money.
He most certainly does.
What's the name on the account you deposit the money in?
He.
Yeah, what's his name?
He.
The one on first
He.
base. That's what I'm trying to find out.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. He gets the money for playing first base, unless they does. Is there something wrong with that?
Look, let's talk about second base. Who's on second?
She is.
Who is she?
She's on second.
Can you tell me her name?
Certainly.
What is it?
She.
Yes, that's what I want to know.
That's what I told you.
Told me what?
That she's on second.
So she covers second base?
Yes, she's the best person I've ever had on second base since I've been the manager.
But you don't even know her name?
Of course I do. Mark my words, she's going to be a Hall of Famer.
You think she's going to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame?
Yes, she is.
And what name is going to be engraved on the plaque?
Her name, of course.
And what is her name?
She.
Look, in a few minutes, I need to go out and meet the whole team.
Yes, you do.
Can you tell me who they are?
I already told you. Third base.
So let me get this straight. All you know is that he's on first, she's on second, they is on third, but sometimes they substitutes on first.
Now you got it.
God, what? All I got is that you don't know any of the names of the people on your team.
I know all of my players and all of their names.
So, if I mention that he's on third, who is he?
No, he's on first.
He's on first.
That's right.
What about the rest of the team? Where are they all playing?
I told you already. They
Back
is...
on third base again. You got a left fielder?
Of course.
Can you tell me the left fielder's name?
Hers.
Yeah, the name of the left fielder. What is it?
Hers.
You don't want to tell me?
I just did.
I asked for her name and you won't tell me?
I told you the name of the left fielder is hers.
Well, of course it's hers. I just want to know what name she wants me to use.
No, she's on second base.
Stay in the outfield. You got a catcher?
Of course.
The catcher got a name?
Them.
You got more than one catcher?
No, just one.
And his name is?
Oh, no. His is our pitcher. Them is our catcher.
So who is he?
He's on first. I've told you that already. His is pitching to them.
I don't even know who they are.
They's on...
If you stay third base, I'll break your arm. Okay, stay with me on this.
I'll try.
I've done some catching in my time.
So I've heard. That's why I hired you.
So, say I'm behind the plate and a heavy hitter from the other team gets up to bat. He pitches to the heavy hitter and the heavy hitter bunts. Me, being a good catcher, I grab the ball and throw it to first base where he catches it.
That's the first thing you've said that made any sense.
I don't even know what I just said.
You just throw the ball to first base.
And he catches it.
Yes.
Okay. And say someone's on second and tries to steal third, so he throws it to second and she catches it. And then she throws it to third where they catches it. And they tags the person stealing from second and then throws the ball home where I or them catches it, tags the person sliding home, triple play. Another player gets up, hits a long fly ball to hers because she's on second and they's on third base, and I could care less.
What did you say?
I said I could care less.
Oh, that's our team psychiatrist. And since we just got home from playing a little baseball there, I'm going to tell you a story about trying to get home. And it begins in Alabama 25 years ago this year. My family and I were down there near Orange Beach, luxuriating in the sun for a week, but I had to be back to teach school quicker than everybody else had to be home. So my wife drove me over to Pensacola, Florida, and I got on a plane there. And funny thing, as I was starting to walk across the tarmac and up towards the plane, I looked back and saw my son Tag, who was 8 years old at the time. And he had this really troubled look on his face. And I didn't know it then, but he was having a premonition. And he waved goodbye to me, and I could swear almost that there was a little bit of a tear in his eye. And I just waved to him, told him I loved him, and yelled, it's going to be fine, buddy. It's going to be fine. Oh, how wrong I was. Tag's misgivings about the plane were dead on. We got into the air in Pensacola and started heading north towards Minneapolis. And suddenly we ran into a 70-mile-an-hour headwind. And let me tell you, that 767 was bouncing up and down the sky like it was a Piper Cub. All over the sky. And people were beginning to get sick all around me. And I was worrying and worrying. I had 2 little kids, a beautiful wife, a job, a career, a life still to come. I didn't want to die on this plane bouncing around the sky in the middle of America. And then it occurred to me that this was one of those things that was completely out of my control. It may have been the beginning of my growing up. And so I reached down and grabbed my book of Pat McManus Outdoor Stories, and I started reading about canoes and funny critters in the woods, and just sat there reading as the sky fell up and down outside the windows and people threw up all around me. And I was reading Pat McManus. And that was fine for about a half an hour of this bouncing around. And then I looked over and I saw the stewardess who had taken up one of the jump seats and was now saying a rosary. I didn't think that was particularly reassuring. And so at last, as we bounced through the sky, we headed in towards Minneapolis. And we started down, and the plane bounced and skittered and bounced and skittered. And just then I noticed this young couple who looked terrified, and their baby was with them. And the baby was the only one who had slept through the entire plane ride. He was perfectly happy. And I thought I should try to take a key from him. But as we drew closer and closer to the ground, down to the point where we could see the windows and the buildings in Minneapolis, suddenly the pilot pointed the plane back at the sky, and we took off like an Atlas rocket back up out of the storm above the clouds. And we cruised there for a while. And then after a while, we headed back down again. Back down towards the windows. I could practically see people waving from the windows. And then again, the pilot pointed the plane at the sky like an Atlas rocket and took off again. 4 times we made this approach to the ground. And finally the pilot came on to the PA with his Chuck Yeager voice, and he said, "Well, we're having some trouble finding some good airspace near the ground. Little unsettled down there. So with fuel conservation in mind, we're going to attempt to land in Eau Claire." And we took off. Now notice the word attempt. We headed for Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and I heard a guy back behind me who was wiping something from his mouth suddenly say, "Oh my God, I'm from Eau Claire." So we headed off towards Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and headed down because we were conserving fuel at this point. And we got closer and closer to the ground in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, and suddenly there was water all around us, everywhere, and I was pretty sure that wasn't the way things were supposed to be. I know so little about Wisconsin that I didn't know that there was a big lake around Eau Claire. And as we got closer and closer to the ground, it came into my head that we were actually going to survive and get at least as far as Eau Claire. And we came in for a landing with 20 yards to spare at the end of the runway in that small airport. And everyone cheered, and the pilot came out, and we all gave him a standing ovation. And then he pulled out his Chuck Yeager voice, and he said, "There's just one little problem, friends. We don't have us a stairwell that can get you down to the ground from here." And the guy from Eau Claire said, "Oh my God." And the smokers said, "You mean we can't smoke?" And we waited there on the ground as the storm began to clear elsewhere for an hour and a half, with the smokers pulling out their fingernails and the guy from Eau Claire pleading with the pilot to just let him jump out the damn door. But neither got to leave and neither got to smoke, and we headed back for Minneapolis. And so off we went towards Minneapolis once again. The storm clouds had cleared, and I thought, oh God, everything is going to be all right. Maybe the stewardess's rosary is what did the trick. I don't know. But we're heading back in to Minneapolis, and we went in without a hitch. And I thought to myself, oh, thank God, my troubles are over. How wrong could I be? We got on the ground in Minneapolis, and there were lines around and around and over and up and down, and all of a sudden they shifted all of us who were trying to get back into the Midwest into the international plane line. And we all started to say, wait, I don't want to go to Holland. I just want to go home. And they said, no, it's all right. We'll get you back in the right line soon. There's just people lined up in front of you. And so we waited there for 2.5 hours in the international plane line. And at last, we got over to the line for the small planes so that I could get back to the Upper Peninsula. And I arrived at the desk at last. And a small Middle Eastern fellow who was behind the counter took my ticket, looked at it, and I swear to God, this is what I heard in my exhaust and frantic mood. I have just killed 10 marmots. I looked at him and I said, excuse me? And he said, you have missed your plane by 10 minutes. I went, oh. And he said, I have a voucher here so you can go to a motel. I went, thank you. And I took the voucher. And he told me where to go. And there was a number for me to call. And so I called up the Continental Hotel. And they said, yes, we're going to send over a shuttle shortly. We're just clearing things out now. But it's going to be a Holiday Inn shuttle. At this point, I really didn't care. And I said, fine. So I went outside and I waited for the Holiday Inn shuttle to take me to the Continental Inn. And soon a Continental Inn shuttle showed up. And I thought to myself, well, it might be going to the Continental Hotel. So I walked over and I said, are you going to the Continental Motel? And he said, no, we're going to the Holiday Inn. To which I said, okay. And then I waited a while longer, and the Holiday Inn shuttle showed up. And so I walked over and I said, are you going to the Continental? And he looked at me like I was out of my mind. No, can't you read the sign on the door? We're going to the Holiday Inn. And I stood there, and I wondered if any of this made sense to anyone else. And I walked away, and I noticed a crowd gathering. And they resembled the crowd in a Frankenstein movie. They had pitchforks, they had guns, or it seemed that way. But we were all just about that angry. And I said, were you guys told to wait for the Holiday Inn shuttle to take you to the Continental Hotel? They said, yes, we were. And at last, another Holiday Inn shuttle showed up, and we walked over and said, are you going to the Continental Hotel? And I don't really know if he was, but he saw the look in our eyes. And he took us to the Continental Hotel. And so I arrived at the Continental Hotel at 2 o'clock in the morning. I had a 7 o'clock flight back to the UP, and I lay there pretending to sleep, switching from channel to channel, trying to sleep, not sleeping a wink. Finally, at last, I had a call in the morning. My plane was in. I was going back to the UP. And so I went back in the shuttle to the airport, and things were finally starting to make sense again. And I went up to the desk in the small plane end of the airport, and I said to the person behind the desk, okay, here's my ticket. Let me go back to the UP. And the person behind the desk looked at the ticket, and he said, huh. And I said, no. He said, don't worry. And then he looked some more and went tappy-tap on his little screen and said, huh. And I said, no. I don't want to hear huh from you ever again. He said, no, it's okay. Just let me get my manager. I went, okay. And the manager came back. The man tapped on his little screen again, and the manager looked at the screen and he said, huh. And I said, I told him I don't want to hear that again. Please don't you start now. He said, no, it's not a problem. You have a ticket for the right day, just the wrong year. You have a ticket for this day next year. I said, I don't want to leave from here on this day next year. I want to leave from here on this day this year. And he said, we'll fix you up. And at last, I got on a plane and headed back to the UP. We stopped off in Houghton, and a fellow came, and he sat down next to me, and he said, where you been? And then I told him this story. Okay, we're going to close out tonight with a song that all of you have probably known for years and years. And I'm going to call the whole cast on up here. And it's a song that's going to be familiar to you, but we've created a few new lyrics to go with this song. It's called You Are My Sunshine. So if you know the chorus, please sing along with us.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine.
You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Now here's some new lyrics.
Where is the sunshine, the glorious sunshine? We're surely lacking our vitamin D. Snowbanks are so high, feel I could just cry. The joys of winter in our frozen great UP. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. Here in the UP, we have 2 seasons. The first lasts 9 months, the second 3. The first is shoveling, the second's relatives. It's reserved for all our summer company. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away. So after this show, come up and see us, and buy some books and some CDs too. We want to make a whole lot of money and retire to some island when we're through. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine away.
Thank you so much for
Thank
coming
you.
tonight, folks. Let your hearts have thoughts. Thank you so much.